Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. And we have a special guest with us here on the State of the Saints podcast, back for the third time. He is a two-time Super Bowl winning champion. He's also a part of the CBS Sports team, and you can also check him out along with his cousin, All-Pro Patrick Peterson, on the podcast, All Things Covered. I'm talking about my guy, B-Mac, Bryant McFadden. B-Mac, how you doing, man?
What's happening, TJ? I'm doing good. Thank you for allowing me to join you.
Oh, man, I appreciate it, man. I know you're extremely busy. I mean, I've seen you at the NFL draft, and we also see you on CBS Sports doing your thing, man. So I appreciate your time, man. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with us to talk about the New Orleans Saints, man.
Anytime you want to talk football, anytime you want to talk New Orleans Saints, especially with Jameis,
yeah,
I'm ready.
Well, thank you so much, man. But yeah, we're going to talk about Jameis in a second, but I think we have to talk about the top story coming out of New Orleans, and I'm talking about the signing of Tyrann Matthieu. I mean, a multi-time All-Pro. We know that he was the missing piece that was on that Kansas City Chiefs team that they acquired him through the Texans, and he actually helped them get that Super Bowl championship, and now he comes back to his hometown of New Orleans. B-Mac, how huge is the signing of Tyrann Matthieu to the Saints?
That's huge. It's huge for multiple reasons. Number one, you improve your defense. You improve your defense. You know, Tyrann is a guy who's been extremely instinctive throughout his professional career. Just going back to his LSU days. I remember at one point in time, this is a kid who potentially would have won the Thorpe Award easily if it was not because of some off-the-field distractions. But yet and still, he's been able to overcome that. An outstanding professional, a guy that can be a quality sound leader in the locker room, a guy that's going to be highly respected in the community. And you give another reason for fans, you give fans another reason to be excited about the upcoming season. Right. So now you look at what they were kind of missing in the secondary. Remember, you allowed Marcus Williams to walk to Baltimore. You ended up signing Marcus May, who a guy who has been known to play pretty good football, just been dealing with a lot of injuries. But if you can kind of get him healthy and you add Tyrann Matthieu to the fold as well, he can be the ultimate traffic cop for the secondary, you know, directing traffic and also making plays.
Yeah, I think he's incredibly talented, but he means so much to the state of Louisiana, B-Mac. I mean, it's been going absolutely crazy out in Louisiana. I mean, of course, he went to LSU, and a lot of people consider him as being one of the best LSU players of all time. And then you combine that with him being from New Orleans, growing up in that area, and I'm hearing that his jersey pre-sales are absolutely insane. So, I mean, he means a lot to that city and this team. But there's also a lot of people out there that are putting the Saints, you know, they're changing them as a potential Super Bowl pick. But, you know, one person that a lot of people kind of, you know, have their questions about is a guy that you mentioned at the top of the show, which is Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston, he signed a 2-year deal with the New Orleans Saints. He's coming off ACL injury. But what do you think about Jameis Winston in 2022? And what do you think that he is going to bring to the New Orleans Saints 1 year removed as being their starter?
You know, first and foremost, TJ, if Jameis is healthy, he's going to be productive. You know, he kind of gave everybody a small glimpse of what he can do with structure around him, right? Now, the one caveat to all of that is how will he handle the structure he had last year without Sean Payton? Because Sean Payton is one of the best to do it. You know what I mean? He means a lot when it comes to the development to whoever the quarterback is he's coaching, and when it comes to the consistency in that offense, right? So now, talent-wise, I don't question that with Jameis. Even with him coming off an ACL injury, the cerebral part of the ball game he has, the arm strength, the attributes. Now it's about this offensive structure that might be a little different because it's been a long time since we've seen a quarterback in New Orleans play without Sean Payton.
Yeah, that's true.
It's been a long time. So I think that is the biggest adjustment for Jameis. Even though he was only there in New Orleans for 2 years with Sean Payton, that meant a lot. And if he don't get injured last year, number one, I think the Saints make the playoffs. Number two, I think he's throws for at least 30 plus touchdowns easily.
Yeah.
Right. And en route to being potentially, one of the unsung heroes in the NFL if he don't get injured. But now not having Sean Payton, that could be a bit of an adjusting period. But I'm expecting big things for Jameis. I really am. I've been a fan of him for quite some time. I think we never got a chance to see the best of Jameis because in Tampa, everything was going the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Finally getting to New Orleans, he kind of showed us what he can do, but then the injury derailed all of that production.
Yeah. I like Jameis a lot. I think that he has matured, as a professional. And I do think that sometimes he gets scrutinized unjustifiably and, at times. I just think that sometimes people aren't giving him the opportunity to figure it out. And, people talk about, Tampa and their success post Jameis, but there was the Tom Brady effect. I mean, he was able to bring a lot of guys that he knew in. And also, Tampa did everything they possibly could to accommodate him. So I'm interested to see what Jameis can do, post Sean Payton and also post ACL injury.
Yeah.
But also B-Mac, a lot of people aren't mentioning he did this without Michael Thomas. Like Michael Thomas did not take a snap with the New Orleans Saints last season, and he had those undrafted, rookies that were out there, undrafted free agents rather, out there, making the best out of that situation. So imagine what he can do with Michael Thomas. And a guy that I want to ask you about, the Saints acquired via the NFL draft, the 11th pick, Chris Olave. Now, CBS Sports gave the Saints this pick a C+. I got to ask you, do you give this pick of Chris Olave, the rookie out of Ohio State, do you give that draft pick a C+? Do you think the Saints were a little bit too aggressive to acquire the Ohio State receiver?
No, I disagree. I disagree with that ranking, and here's why. You look at what the Saints were where they were selected, right? Mm-hmm. You look at the wide receivers that were already gone.
Yeah.
Who do you turn to?
Good
Drake
point.
London was gone.
Mm-hmm.
Garrett Wilson, his teammate, was gone. Mm-hmm. And then the Saints, of course, needed a wide receiver.
Yeah.
So do you bypass Olave and go get Jahan Dotson? Do you bypass Olave and go get Burks? Like, Watson, Christian Watson? Like, what do you do?
Yeah.
I think he was the next best available wide receiver. And he went where he was supposed to go. Because the thing about the New Orleans Saints is this. When you already have Michael Thomas, who's coming back healthy,
right?
He's not considered to be a burner. He's a bigger body, a guy that can move the chains, and also do damage in the red zone. Go get me a guy that can coexist with Thomas, with Callaway, who's a bigger guy as well.
Yeah.
And the one thing the Saints have been missing for quite some time has been pure speed.
Yeah.
Pure speed. Callaway's a guy that can kind of get behind coverage here or there. The same can be said for Michael Thomas, but that's not their specialty.
Mm-hmm.
Provide your offense with the element of fear, which is speed. And that's what they did. Chris Olave ran 4.32, if I'm not mistaken, 4.35.
Yeah.
And you turn to his tape, he's actually running that on the football field. So those things can coexist with what he does compared to the other wide receivers you already have on the roster.
Yeah. I mean, being a Saints fan as long as I have, and also just covering the team, I don't feel like this was aggressive. I mean, this is something that they needed for a long time. They needed a number 2 receiver. I mean, they had Emmanuel Sanders a couple of years ago. Of course, he was a cap casualty. They couldn't keep him. And they tried other guys like Cam Meredith, and even Ted Ginn. They tried guys, but it just did not work out. And I finally feel like the New Orleans Saints have themselves a number 2. This is a guy that went to Ohio State. So I feel like just on that alone, Michael Thomas is going to embrace him. I mean, there's video right now of those two working out together. So, I mean, I think that he is going to be a mentor to him. I think that, Chris Olave is going to bring something that the Saints been missing, and it's also good if something was to happen to Michael Thomas, you have a guy that can possibly step up into that number 1 role and give you the production that you need offensively. And also this also helps with the, Jameis Winston getting weapons around him. Drew Brees was interviewed and he said that he feel like Jameis is the answer. Just put some weapons around him. Olave is a good start. Alvin Kamara is another. But, there's still that question out there, will Alvin Kamara face suspension due to what happened during the Pro Bowl? So the Saints are looking at Sony Michel, B-Mac. So do you think that Sony Michel, his skill set, his ability would be a good fit in New Orleans?
Yeah, I think so. When you look at how New Orleans offensively how they run the football. You know, they do it in a dynamic way, but now get it? That was with Sean Payton.
Right.
Right. You know, it was very, very creative in how they utilized their running backs. That's why we
Right.
saw so much success.
Yeah.
You know, with guys like Latavius Murray, you know, Ingram,
Right.
Kamara, you know, those guys were utilized the right way because schematically speaking, Sean Payton put them in the best possible positions to win.
Right.
That's where we got to really wait and see how it will pan out. So if I can answer this question based on what we've seen in years past, I think Sony Michel would do wonderful in that offensive structure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he's still young. It's not like he's an old guy. It's not like the tread on his tires is done.
Yeah.
And you just need him, if that's the case, if something was to happen to Alvin, you know, you just need him to weather the storm, you know, until Alvin is back in the lineup.
Yeah. I think that Sony Michel would be a good fit. And it also depends on how long Alvin Kamara is out. You know, I think that, you know, if he faces like a 6-game suspension or something like that, you definitely have to look at somebody that kind of resembles his skill set. And Sony Michel is a guy that can run between the tackles, catch the ball out of the backfield. He was extremely productive in New England, and he was productive as well with the Rams. So, you know, I think that he would be a good fit to be, you know, in that, you know, a good placeholder if Alvin Kamara has to miss a large amount of time. Yeah. But let's flip over to your favorite side of football, the defense. The Saints were one of the best defenses in the league last year. You know, one of the top 5 defenses. They have some guys, you know, leadership, Cam Jordan, Demario Davis, and now they, you know, add the Honey Badger to the defense in the secondary. Do you think that the New Orleans Saints can defense as the offense tries to figure it out? Do you think they can be the catalyst and lead this team where they need to be?
No question. I think so. You know, some of the pieces that you mentioned that's returning, you know, it's all about health for the New Orleans Saints. You know, Cam has been a guy who's been doing it for a long, long time. You know, if you keep, you know, Davenport healthy, now you got 2 dynamic pass rushers, you know, collapse in the pocket. You look at Davis, one of my favorite players to watch in the Saints. He plays with a lot of energy, a 3-down linebacker. Right. He is the transmission for the car, if I can utilize that as an analogy. And he means that much to their defense. And then adding Tyrann Matthieu. And the thing about Tyrann Matthieu, you got Marcus May. Those 2 guys can coexist because Tyrann is a guy who plays with free eyes. He utilizes his eyes to put him in positions to be successful. He also can do damage in the box as well. But May is that thumper. You know, May is the guy who's swinging first, and then everybody else is coming. You have to have those type guys in your secondary that they complement each other, right? With the instincts that Tyrann Matthieu has, remember I said more so a traffic cop. You know, he can command everything. He's behind everything. But then if you need to go ahead and roll reverse with those guys, you can. And then you look at the cornerback, you got Marshawn Lattimore, who's still one of the best to do in the National Football League. Debo, I think potentially could be the other guy. Outside of Lattimore. And then the kid you got from Tennessee,
Taylor.
Taylor. You know who Taylor reminds me of? Since you're a big time New Orleans Saints fan, and this is a Saints podcast, I'm gonna throw a name out there to you. Taylor reminds me a lot of Keenan Lewis.
Really?
Very, very long.
Wow.
Agile, very, very disruptive at the line of scrimmage, and a scrappy player. And remember, Keenan gave the Saints some nice production until injuries just took over everything.
Yeah.
You know, Keenan can eventually becoming the number 1 corner for the New Orleans Saints, and Taylor has a lot of Keenan Lewis in him. Yeah. And he can run.
Yeah, he can.
He's a long guy that's extremely fast, and Keenan was a fast guy as well. Shout out to K. Lou, one of my former teammates in Pittsburgh. But Taylor reminds me a lot of K. Lou. And then you still have Bradley Roby as well on the roster. We don't know if he will remain there, but we have to wait and see. And you got Chauncey, you know, Gardner Johnson, who came into the league as a safety, but he has really embraced that nickel role for the New Orleans Saints. And he's done it well, right?
Yeah, man. He definitely brings that energy. He's one of those guys that bring the energy. And, you know, Saints fans love him, you know, because of it. You know, and I love what I'm seeing, you know, from the defense. You know, they're trying to beef it up. That's not a surprise to me, especially Dennis Allen being a former defensive coordinator. And also, you know, before he became that coordinator, he was the secondary coach of the New Orleans Saints when they went to the Super Bowl. So it's no surprise to me that, you know, they're trying to get better in the secondary and also beef up that defense. But speaking of Dennis Allen, as you mentioned, Sean Payton is no longer with the New Orleans Saints. Thank you for that little nugget. I want to make this very clear. This was the first person that came out with this information for us, telling us that Sean Payton most likely won't be with the New Orleans Saints. But now they have Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen, last stop, who was with the Raiders. He had an 8-28 record as a head coach. There's a lot of unanswered questions about him. Dennis Allen being a new head coach. Do you think that Dennis Allen can have success in New Orleans? And what are you looking for with Dennis Allen as the Saints head coach?
Yeah, I think he can have a lot of success in New Orleans, much more than what he had in Oakland. And the reason why I say that is because the cupboard isn't bare. Mm-hmm. Sean Payton left a lot of spices in the cupboard.
Right.
When it comes to individual talent and when it comes to structure, right? The foundation is already there. And Dennis Allen being in New Orleans for such a long time, being able to soak up so much knowledge from Sean Payton, one would think we will see some of that involved in his second role as a head coach.
No.
And because of that, I think he would do a better job. And not to mention, when we look at the division, it's safe to say it's a two-team division right now. Barring anything can happen, you know what I mean? But you look at what happened a year ago, you look at some of the additions, it's still up to Tampa and New Orleans. It's not like you're coaching in the AFC West, where you got 4 legit playoff caliber teams. It's not like you're coaching in the AFC North, where you got 4 legit playoff caliber teams.
Yeah.
Best case scenario right now, before one ball game is played, you got 2, the Saints and Tampa.
Right. So
that should be an advantage in his favor as well. And the last thing I like to say about Dennis Allen, I enjoyed the hire, keeping everything in-house because the respect is already there.
Yeah, good point.
You don't have to come in trying to earn the guys' respect. They respect him because of what he's done throughout his time there in New Orleans. And the same can be said for the fan base. I think it's safe to say most New Orleans Saints fans, they respect Dennis Allen because they mentioned last year defense was lights out. Throughout his time as a DC there, his defense has always been competitive.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good point. And I like the fact that, they did stay in-house. Some Saints fans felt like they probably should have went out. But this isn't like one of those traditional situations, right? 9 times out of 10, if a coach stepped down, it wasn't because he wanted to. It's because he got fired. And fan bases are excited, don't let the doorknob hit you on the way out.
Yeah.
But Sean Payton, he left on his own accord. And I have that. They have that old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, I like the fact that they decided to go with Dennis Allen. He didn't have as much success, as a coach of the Raiders, but man, that organization during that time was a train wreck. I think anybody would agree to that. And I just think that when you talk about the leadership and the locker room guys and the camaraderie and the passion that they have on that team, I think it is a recipe for success. My final question for you is about the NFC South. You said and you mentioned that it's a two-team race there, but did you see anything in the NFL draft that you feel will help the NFC South teams like the Carolina Panthers, the Falcons? What moves did they make that you liked and feel that will help them find success?
Well, I like Carolina, going out to get Icky,
right?
Iwanu.
Right.
I felt like he was probably the top offensive lineman available. I also like them going to get Cade Mays, I think in the 4th or 5th round.
Right.
Guy who really could be a better professional player than collegiate player. But for Carolina, they done some pretty good things in the draft. Granted, they didn't have a lot of resources.
Yeah.
But they're a better team when they have CMC in the lineup, Christian McCaffrey. Sam Darnold's a better quarterback when Christian McCaffrey is behind him.
Yeah.
So if he is healthy, they will be a competitive team. And don't forget, that defense, when they started the season last year, they were smacking people in the mouth.
Yep, that's a good point.
They got tired. They got banged up. There was guys missing time. That defense basically brought almost all their pieces back outside of Hassan Reddick, who signed with the Eagles.
Yeah.
So that could be a team, if everything is going in the right direction in regards to health, TJ, that could be a team that could make some noise.
Yeah.
Because I understand we question Sam Darnold, deserving so. But think about this. When you have Christian McCaffrey in the backfield he makes whoever the quarterback is look better.
Yep. Yeah.
So that's the team.
Point.
I'm not going to say too much about Atlanta because let's keep it real. Atlanta, there's nothing really in their glass. That glass ain't half full. It's basically him. You know what I mean? They're basically rebuilding. You know what I mean? So whatever Atlanta does, you got to applaud them for a job well done because the expectations are at the bare minimum with Atlanta. But the Carolina Panthers, the pieces that they have, wide receivers, Roby, Moore, the kid out of LSU a year ago in the draft, I think third round.
Terrence
Marshall, adding more pieces to the offensive line. You look at that defense. I mean, getting J.C. Horn back.
Yep, that was huge.
Remember how he was playing? You got Jeremy Chin. You got Jackson as well. Yep. So they got some nice pieces. That's the one team that if folks not careful and you're not really paying attention to them, they can hit you in the mouth.
Yeah. I mean, Matt Rule, that's his reputation, right? Building teams. That's one of the main reasons why Carolina decided to hire him. I mean, his success that he had at Temple building that, program, and then going to Baylor and building that program got those guys in some bowl games. So, I think that's the reason why they got him. And, you think about a couple of years ago, they drafted all defensive players. And then the following year, they addressed some of the needs that they had offensively, like the offensive line. I mean, Carolina is one of those teams that I feel like they're going to be one of those teams that can grow together. And, as you grow, you start to develop chemistry and your team starts to get better. I always have a level of respect for Carolina, because they'll always seem like one of those teams that, like the Saints, always seem to be there in the end. I'm talking about before Tampa got Tom Brady. But I think that it's going to be huge for, these guys this season to have a guy like J.C. Horn back. He was the energy. He played with swag, confidence. And when he went down, I think some of the, defense, I think the confidence of the defense went down with him a little bit. But we'll see. I'm excited about the NFC South. And I thank you so much for being a part of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for your time. And before you go, let everybody know how they can get in touch with you.
Man, number one, appreciate the invite, TJ. Whenever we can link up, I'm always ready.
Appreciate it, man.
Number two, for everyone checking us out, I appreciate you giving me your eyes and your ears as well. You can follow me on social media, all handles, same name, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, BMAC_sports talk. If you like podcasts, give me a listen as well with my cousin Pat Peterson. Podcast called All Things Covered. You can find us anywhere where podcasts can be found. We also have a YouTube channel as well. Just go to youtube.com/All Things Covered. And then when it comes to Always Talking Ball, check me out on CBS Sports HQ, talking college football, NFL football, gambling, fantasy, everything. Yeah. I enjoy doing what I do. And because of that, it's not work. I'm just living life.
Yeah. and you all do a great job on the All Things Covered podcast, man. You all have some really good guests, man, and you always got some good commentary over there, man. And good luck to you, with the All Things Covered podcast, and keep up the good work over there on CBS Sports HQ, man. Looking forward to hearing some of your takes about topics on the NFL. Appreciate your time.
Hey, don't worry. Anytime we talking Saints football, you already know who I'm rocking with. I'm rocking with Jameis. So.
All right. Hey, I'm in the same boat, man. I appreciate it. Thank you, B-Mac.
Thank you.